Yep. So the School of Environment and Natural Resources is part of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences. It's a unit within it. We have about 780 students across 5 majors. And our majors span the sort of range of kind of career jobs that students might be going into, which, when we're talking about the environmental field, is a span that we call the natural to social science spectrum. So natural science is where you get like your environmental science, forestry, fisheries, and wildlife. It's field-based, applied biology and chemistry. So training, you'd be like waders on out in the river, taking samples, training to be a water quality specialist or a wildlife biologist or a zookeeper or something like that. So that's the natural science side. Social science is how humans interact with the environment. So that would be everything from exploring environmental policy, environmental sustainability in the economic system, or environmental justice, and those sorts of things. So that's the field that students might go into within the environmental field is on that spectrum, and the 5 majors kind of fit within that spectrum as well. Students who want to make a positive impact on the world, students who are passionate about seeing access to the resources around us used well. So that can, sometimes look like things like recycling or parks. But when we talk about the environment, we're talking about food, water, air, things that intersect every single type of community, not just those who might have access to parks or those who are, excited about recycling or buying organic food. In fact, some of the most pressing issues right now in our society have to do with access to clean water. And as we see increasing effects of climate change, clean water is really the thing in the Midwest that we're going to be struggling with. So we're training students to address that specifically. We're also working, with a lot of the migrant movements that we're seeing around the world are climate refugees. And so we have to be building a society that is capable of addressing that in a just and equitable and humanizing way. And that's also contained specifically in our kind of environmental justice track. So for 4 of our majors, the environmental science, forestry, fisheries, and wildlife, natural resource management, and environmental policy and decision making, students actually take a core set of classes that are the intro to each of those 4. So even if they're going on to be a restoration ecologist, they're still going to take a set of policy courses because policymakers inform and help fund the work that environmental scientists do every day. And ideally, the work that our environmental scientists are doing is informing policymakers, and it's sort of a connected system there. So it's a pretty unique thing about Ohio State's environmental programs. Most schools in the U.S. are going to focus on natural or social science, and we, because we're big and have lots of good resources, we're able to do both, and that makes students better able to navigate the professional scene as they go along. Then as they go deeper into their major courses, they would specialize more in very hands-on coursework. So we're really lucky. When Ohio State was founded, Columbus was still down the road. And so we have over 400 acres of hands-on lab space for students in our field-based majors. So there's a 50-acre wetlands on campus, 260-acre farm, 65-acre arboretum, all of that. Those are the classrooms for our students in the field-based programs. So as you get further along in your studies, you're getting really practical hands-on experiences, including quite a few certifications built into the majors themselves. So that's for the field-based programs. For the more social science programs, you would be going deeper into coursework of sort of applied economics, applied policy work, specifically looking at making positive change in the environmental field. Our EADS major, Environment, Economy, Development, Sustainability, is a little different than the other 4. It's an interdisciplinary major, essentially seeking to answer the question of, we kind of know what we need to do as a society to be more sustainable, and the barrier is always how do we pay for it? And so this specific major is designed to train professionals to go and answer that economic question of sustainability. So we have students taking more of their core classes would be focused on economics, on the economics of natural resources, of food systems, of the policies that intersect with our for-profit, nonprofit, and public sector work, specifically in that area. Our students are here to do a job that they love on the other end, something that's making an impact. And that's something that we start working with our students from day one. I'm thinking about how they're layering their curriculum along with their professional experiences. Those professional experiences are what open the doors for careers for students. Obviously, take the classes, do well in them, gain the knowledge, but it's how you apply them. That's what the employers are looking for. And so we have a sort of 4-year plan. So for students, in your very first year, you don't need to be stressed about something that you're doing 3.5 years from now. But here's what you can be doing your first year, so that in your second year, when you're applying for internships, you are better prepared and able to stand out in that field. And then your third year, and it layers on and on. Our graduates typically float between 90-92% placement within 6 months. And that, there's all kinds of things that we can be proud about with the school, our research, our at-abroad opportunities, awards students are receiving, but what we care about most is that students are finding placement in those jobs. And so it is a team effort, and we have a small field community here of support system for students working with us specifically. So the kind of types of jobs students are going into, again, fit on that spectrum of natural science to social science. So we have people going on to work, in wildlife conservation and marine ecology, working, in settings like zoos or national parks, or working as educators, water quality specialists, things like that. To the other side, where you might be an environmental lawyer or a sustainability specialist for a big company, working with students who go on to work at Tesla, to the EPA, to we had students who work at NASA, all kinds of things like that, really solving some of the most pressing issues related to the environment within that spectrum of natural social science. There's over 80 sustainability clubs on campus right now, and you can find those on the union's website. We have some of them documented on our website as well at senr.osu.edu. We specifically have some clubs that are intended to support professional development opportunities for students, and most of them are chapters of national organizations. So our Fish and Wildlife Society is a chapter of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Society. They send in professionals and do workshops and training certifications for students in those programs. Terra Aqua is another one that's a soil and water group. Net Impact is a chapter that we have here that is essentially a sustainability consulting firm made up of students here that work with real companies in the area, helping solve some of their problems, their kind of sustainability barriers. So for each of the majors, we have at least one student organization that is a national chapter of something that is a professional development track for them. So this is applied biology. It goes beyond sort of the maybe labs that you have, learning about kind of the theory and the makeup of those things. You definitely take those foundational biology and chemistry classes, and then you put on waders and you go out in the river and collect indicator species and look at, what does this mean, if that makes sense. So it's intended to translate the principles of biology and chemistry into practical skills in managing ecosystems, organisms, and the policy and structures around them. Close to half of our students study abroad before they graduate. We work really hard to provide hands-on learning experiences for students, and some of those are here on campus. Some of those are, we have an island up on Lake Erie. That's the oldest freshwater field station in the U.S., where students take classes over the summer. But there's things that we don't have here. We don't have a Great Barrier Reef here, so we send students to Australia every single summer to participate in research on the Great Barrier Reef. We send students to New Zealand every summer. We go to Iceland every few years, a variety of other places that can really help students immerse themselves in learning abroad. And we have such a high rate of education abroad because we work to break down the cost barrier for students. So I got to go on the New Zealand trip this past year. I think the sticker price for that trip was about $10,000, give or take, and there wasn't a single student on the trip paying more than $1,500 out of pocket to go. So if you want to study abroad and get that experience, we really try to make that happen for you. Yeah, so they should set up an appointment with an advisor. They can do that by calling our central office, and that number is 614-292-2265, and they would be set up to meet with an advisor. We also do open hours every Friday, so just walk-in hours. So if they wanted to come and talk to an advisor on a Friday, those are typically shorter appointments. So if you know for sure which major makes sense for you and you just want to come in and change, you can drop in on any Friday of the year, and one of the advisors can take care of that for you, get you set up with your new curriculum, those sorts of things.